Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Today we are reviewing the 2025 horror movie Heart Eyes.
Isn't the one where he has hearts for eyes?
Heart Eyes was released, at least for me here in the United States, on February 7th, 2025. It stars Mason Golding, Olivia Holt, and Devon Sawa. The only one out of those three I really knew was Devon Sawa, who of course played the lead in the original Final Destination movie. I hadn't really seen him since then, so I didn't actually recognize him. He's gotten quite a bit older since Final Destination, so I had to actually look him up on IMDb to see which character he played. But his character is very fun, and once I figured out who it was, I was like, oh, of course, I recognize him now. Heart Eyes is a horror slasher, kind of in the same vein as the Scream franchise, and also seeming to maybe try to capitalize on the success of the Terrifier franchise, namely Terrifier 3, which came out last year and was a horror slasher centered around a holiday. Terrifier 3's holiday, of course, being Christmas, Heart Eyes, of course, being Valentine's Day. Heart Eyes is definitely a gory horror slasher, not anywhere near as gory as the Terrifier franchise, but there is some good kills. I'd say there's a really good one at the beginning. There's one sequence in the middle, which you would have seen in the trailer, and then the ending is pretty gory as well. But it is not just a horror slasher. Apparently it was common knowledge, it wasn't kept a secret at all, and it makes total sense being a movie centered around Valentine's Day. But I had missed this little information. I had only seen the trailer maybe twice, and I didn't know really anything about the movie. So I didn't realize until about maybe 20 minutes into the movie that this is a romantic comedy. I'm a sucker for a good romance, as long as there's not a tragic death.
There's a
and the couple aren't terrible.
Which you are, 99% of the time.
Romantic comedies are definitely not a genre I gravitate towards. Horror is definitely my go-to. But having a mix of these two genres was really fun. I actually really enjoyed this movie, and I thought they did a fantastic job of blending these two movie genres together. Romantic comedies can be very cheesy, slashers can be very over the top. They actually work really well together because they can play on these tropes. You don't always have to have the characters react in the most realistic way. It can be a little over the top, a little heightened reality. I'm going to do my best to make this review spoiler free. However, I do want to be able to give my thoughts about the movie in its entirety, including my opinion about the ending. So if you're one of those people who likes to go into a movie completely blind,
oh, I've heard of this flick. There's a twist in it, isn't there?
then maybe go watch the movie before you finish this review. Thank you. So getting into the actual movie, the movie opens with a cold open of a couple getting engaged, and they are being stalked by this Heart Eyes killer. Now this cold open, even had I known that this was a romantic comedy, I feel like this opening would have still felt a little off to me. There was just something weird that they were doing with it, where the dialogue was really stilted, the performances felt really fake, like they were actors and they knew they were acting. And just not very good at it. And then their color saturation was really high. It felt like we were watching a set on a green screen and the camera was gonna pull back to show us a sound stage, and it turned out that this was just a movie within the movie. But that wasn't the case. This is a real couple who are getting engaged. And there's even one part where the girl of the couple is mouthing the lines of the guy. And it was weird. I feel like maybe they were going for a message of, in this day and age, we record everything, we put it online, we put it out there, so nothing is really organic. We don't experience things in real life. Everything's rehearsed, everything's fake. We don't even enjoy the biggest moments of our lives because we're too busy trying to get them on film, trying to record the perfect moment, which is a fine for a message, but I feel like that message really never came back around. They never really did anything with it. There wasn't a callback to it. It didn't pay off in any way. So it felt just a little out of place. It was a little weird. But once the slasher part gets going, like I said, there's a great kill in the beginning that kind of brings you back into the slasher genre and back on board. After this cold open, we cut to our main character, our main female character and her friend, and she's getting ready to go to work. And there was something weird again about this dialogue. Something that I just personally don't like that a lot of newer movies are kind of doing is kind of incorporating this influencer Gen Z buzzword lingo in a way that just feels fake. It doesn't feel very organic. It doesn't feel like the way people talk. Maybe I just don't hang around enough young people, or that way of talking hasn't reached where I live, which is a small town in the Midwest.
The world is changed.
Once the action kind of ramped up and the two leads got together, I didn't notice this at all for the rest of the movie. Anyway, the two leads, they meet, they connect, they hang out together, and then they get targeted by the Heart Eyes killer, whose MO is hunting couples, and they spend the night just kind of connecting and trying to get away from this serial killer, basically. It's really fun. The two leads have a lot of chemistry. They work well off of each other. There's good action. You're kind of on the edge of your seat watching. There's not really a dull, not really a boring moment through the movie. But that gets you to the ending, which is fine. But I feel like, the reveal of who the killer was a little bit predictable. The motivation they gave the killer was a little odd. It was a little confusing. It didn't really kind of land for me. It didn't really make a lot of sense. They didn't really flesh it out that well. But by then, you're really invested in the two main characters. You really are rooting for them. You want them to end up together. You want them to survive. So that heightens the tension, and the action really builds up there. Like I said, there's a lot of good gore at the end of this movie. So all in all, I'd say if you can sit back and buckle down for a rom-com slasher, you will really enjoy this movie. If that doesn't sound like your thing, if you're not into romance, maybe give this one a pass, but I really recommend it. I had a lot of fun with it. It is what it is. You can't expect, it's not this magical, doing all this new stuff for the horror genre, but it is really entertaining, and I feel like a horror slasher, you go in for the gore, you go in to be entertained, and that's what this movie gives. With the romantic comedy kind of thrown in there on top of it for just kind of an easier, more lighthearted movie-going experience.
Wasn't that sweet?
Anyway, that's all I have for now. I will see you next time, but until then, take care of yourself and drink water. Bye-bye! Subscribe!